L'chaim. Everyone, wherever he is, should say l'chaim.
Farbrengen, Rabbi Schapiro. When this week?
Yeah, tell him it's a beautiful photo. I was there.
L'chaim, l'chaim.
Chaim v'bracha.
The reason for the Farbrengen is obviously doesn't even have to be said. It's obviously Shabbos and Vorchim. That's the first and foremost reason. Shabbos and Vorchim. That's every Shabbos and Vorchim is a inyan to Farbrengen. But this time there's a few reasons. I'm just saying because the Rebbe, when he started Farbrengen on Shabbos, he would always, I wouldn't say mamish always, but B'derech Klal, he would start with explaining what the Shabbos is and the date and the time. So that's what the guy does say. Today, the Shabbos and Vorchim, it's one thing. Second thing is, not Stam Shabbos and Vorchim, but Shabbos and Vorchim Tammuz. Shabbos and Vorchim Tammuz is a special Shabbos and Vorchim because it's Kailul, all the Inyanim of Tammuz, which is Gimel Tammuz and Yud Beis Tammuz, Tammuz. And then we also have, it's a Hachoneh to Gimel Tammuz. So it's not just because it's Shabbos Vorchim Tammuz, because there should be a Farbrengen as a Hachoneh, because it's not enough just to get to the date and automatically things are going to happen. It doesn't work that way. You got to have a Hachoneh, so you make a Hachoneh. So you take the Shabbos and Vorchim, that's the time for a Hachoneh. And then there's the date itself. Today's day has a special date, and that's Chof Ches Sivan, the date that the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin came to America. The Rebbe made a big fuss over it. Not the first years, but the first years people didn't even know. People didn't know when it was always known. When I was a bocher in some 70, it was always known that the Rebbe came before Shavuos. That for the Shabbos before Shavuos, the Rebbe was there. But later, when we found out, he found the papers and he found out the emes. It wasn't then, it was after Shavuos. Chof Chasim was after Shavuos. So it wasn't a special date in all the years. But when it became, the Rebbe made a big fuss over it. The Rebbe Sai Tov Mem Tes and Sai Tov Nun Aleph. Tov Mem Tes Shabbos happened to be Shabbos Pasha Shlach, happened to be Chof Chasim. The Rebbe spoke about it. And then in Tov Nun Aleph, the Rebbe in the weekdays spoke about it. When the Rebbe made a fuss over it and explained, Mamish made it dikinyonim, and I'm going to say over someone in the Kudus of it, because that's made it dikinyonim in the Geya Chof Chasim, that when you start thinking, you read the Siches, and you see it is das etwas Mamish verbunden with the Gilei HaMashiach, that's for sure. So, but first, just to mention, when the Geya Tammuz, so when the Rebbe spoke quite a few times in the Geya, the Maila of the month of Tammuz, that the month of Tammuz is the inyan of his hapche. Why is Tammuz dafke his hapche? So in quite a few sichas, the Rebbe explains that Tammuz, we know, is a name of Avodah Zarah. It says in Tanakh, Tammuz. Tammuz is Avodah Zarah. And that is changed over, because the Etzem Zach that it became a name of a month is already a inyan of his hapche. It became the name of a month in Torah, which again the Rebbe brings the shalah that B'chlal, normally we think it says that Shemes HaChadoshim Olo Mehem Bavel. It was like by the Goyim, these were the names of the months, and the Yidden brought it from Bavel, and that's how it became. But the Rebbe brings, I think the shalah says, if I remember correctly, that he says that Be'etzim it was Loshen Kodesh. The Goyim took it and it was forgotten by the Eden, and then when they took it back. So it's Be'etzim Loshen Kodesh. But in Giluyim, in Pel Mamish, it seems like it came from Goyim, and it was transformed. So every month, if you look at that way, is a union of this hapcha changing over something that's not Kedusha into Kedusha. But Benegei Tammuz Bifrat, Tammuz is the name of Avodah Zarah, and it's changed over to Kedusha, and especially became a month of whatever would call Chedesh Tammuz, Chedesh HaGeula, from because of Yud Beis Tammuz. So that's a ishapche of Avodah Zarah to something good. But even mitzad, other than Avodah Zarah, the Rebbe explains that Tammuz B'chlal was known as a sad month. Tammuz has Shivoser B'Tammuz, and from Shivoser B'Tammuz you have the 3 weeks, and that's connected to the Churban Beis Hamikdash. But L'Peil Mamish, Rebbe says, in the years before Mashiach, as a Chonah the Mashiach, when Mashiach will come, it says, "V'hafachti Evlon B'Sosein," it'll be changed. So already changed now. Now already Tammuz has a certain day of Simcha, not Stam a day of Simcha, day of Geula, so it's changed over. So that's the specialty of Tammuz that the Rebbe speaks about. But to us, the month of Tammuz is because of Gimel Tammuz. And Gimel Tammuz, the way it used to be before Gimel Tammuz, Tovshin Nun Daled, was a day of Simcha because it was the Geula of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And the Rebbe explains, I remember when he said the Sicha, that Be'emes, we should celebrate Gimel Tammuz. He said them, but the Gei the Gulas, Gimel Tammuz, more than we should celebrate Yud Beis Tammuz. Because the real Geula, that means the change over from a death sentence to life, is Gimel Tammuz. Gimel Tammuz, when he left jail, but he was still sent away to Kastrama, to Golis. But the real time when his life was spared, that should be celebrated Gimel Tammuz. Yud Beis Tammuz is only, the Rebbe says, only like another darge, that he went out free, but he wasn't free completely. He was free a little bit, and then became more free when he came to Yud Beis Tammuz. But the Rebbe asked, so how come we celebrate Yud Beis Tammuz, not Gimel Tammuz? So the Rebbe said, who made the Yont of Yud Beis Tammuz? The Frierdiker Rebbe. Why? Because by the Frierdiker Rebbe, as long as he was not able to do his work of spreading Torah and mitzvahs, Yiddishkeit, and doing his work of bringing Elokus in the world, it's not by him a geula. So even though Gimel Tammuz he went out, but he went out to Kastrama, which means he was still limited in what he could do. But Beis Tammuz, when he became free, then he was able to. That's why by him it's a simcha. But the Rebbe said, but negay us, Vachsinim is negay the Rebbe himself, Poshe the Rebbe, the person, but Mele, Gimel Tammuz is even the bigger yontif. But that's all before Gimel Tammuz Tovshin Nun Daled. But Gimel Tammuz to us is the day, the Yom Elul of the Rebbe, which is the day of Chizuk HaIskashrus, the day that the Rebbe, when he says, you tried the way the Rebbe spoke, and it says in Chassidus, Benegei, Lag Ba'emer, at the day of Stalkus, the day of Elul, Kol Avidose Asherov, everything that he did, Kol Yemei Chayov, gets together. So you can imagine when all the Yonim of the Rebbe get together, what kind of great Gilu it is. And that's the day that we have to Mechazek Iskashrus. So Enoch so on Gimel Tammuz, there's all kinds of things going to happen, and it's like a great grace in Yonim that has to be. But we have to remember, we have to start a little bit earlier to prepare for Gimel Tammuz. That's the union of Farbrengen for Gimel Tammuz. But mitzvah, the day itself, which is Chof Chasidim, is the day that the Rebbe came to America. The first time that they announced it by Farbrengen, I mean, many of us, I wasn't there because I was here, but everyone remembers when this happened, that the Mayor Harlik by Farbrengen announced the first time they made a big Farbrengen, like Mayor Harlik is in charge of the different Farbrengens and different times, so he announced that we're making a big Farbrengen, but the Rebbe's Farbrengen. There's a day that they're going to, I don't know which day of the week, they're going to make a big Farbrengen. Everyone is invited. It was announced by the Rebbe because those days, if a person had any event that he was doing, any shliach, so the seder would be that you would have to bring before Shabbos to Maskirus a bottle of mashke, and how many people? Quite a few people would bring every Shabbos for the different events during the week, and they would bring it to the Farbrengen. The Maskirim would bring it to the Farbrengen Shabbos, and by the Farbrengen Shabbos, the Rebbe would give it out to the people who send it, and then the Rebbe would say to announce it, and he would tell everybody, you announce it. The only time he wouldn't say to announce is if it had to had to do with going to Russia. I remember when I went to Russia, this was, when was it? I went to Russia, so before Shabbos I gave him a bottle, but when it came to the Farbrengen, the Rebbe gave the bottle, he said not to announce. That was not to announce. But everything else was announced. So Rabbi Halik announced for that time that the Farbrengen is going to be in honor because that's the day that the Rebbe came to America. And the Rebbe added, Ishu Beisei. Ishu Beisei. The Rebbe added also that the Rebbetzin came with him. Not only him, it's him and the Rebbetzin. And Bechlal, whenever we talk about, somebody who was saved or something, it's him and the Rebbe. But here the Rebbe made sure that it should be mentioned, should know in Isha Beisei. Now, exactly why was it so important? Okay, the Rebbe, but probably there is more to it. I'm just saying a svara. Now, any svara that anybody says nowadays, some people, I just heard this svara, it means nothing. You could say it, you could say verkehrt. But I just think, we learned lately in the Sikha, in the Geda Kein Godel, but the Kein Godel, it says that Chipper Ba'adei Uba'ad Beisei. From there, the Gemara learns out that the Kein Godel has to be married on Yom Kippur. And Kein Godel that's not married cannot do the Aveda in Yom Kippur. It has to be a Kein Godel Nosoi. As a matter of fact, they would prepare a second wife in case his wife would die, he would need another wife. He has to be married in order to do the Aveda in Yom Kippur. And the Rebbe asked the Shaila, what's so special? Why would he have to do the Aveda in Yom Kippur being married? And we call it Beisei. So, especially the Rebbe asks that in the Ged Yom Kippur, we know that he has to be Porush. 7 days before Yom Kippur, the Mishnah says, Mafrishnes Kein Godel from his house. The Kein Godel has to be separated from his wife for 7 days before he does the Aveda. So, what's the union of being dafke married? When the whole union of Aveda Yom Kippur is verkehrt, is to be away from that type of life, away from the Gashmias. So the Rebbe explains, and the Kudah of the union is that the whole Tachlis, the Aveda itself is a holy Aveda on a day of Prishus, but the Tachlis is to bring that into your house. The Tachlis is to bring it into the Gashmis, the Teva Ha'elim, into the Veltisha things. And if that's the Tachlis, that's why it's important that he's married, because being married, that's part of when you're in a Welt, and that's something that you have to do. With something that is a derech hateva, and the kavan is to bring that to it, and that's why the wife is called over there Beise. It's not called Ishtay. Like Rabbi Yosef said, Beise represents that this is bringing Elakus into your house. So I would imagine this is, I'm just saying, because the Rebbe used the word, the Rebbe didn't say the Rebbetzin, he said Isha Beise, because the union of Beise, that's the tachlis. And by the Rebbe, the way he explained what his coming to America meant fits to this. And I'm going to explain a few things that the Rebbe says in the Siches. When they gave what is Chof Chasidim, the Rebbe's coming to America, is bringing Elakus into Welt. I'll explain in a second. And it fits to what he said, Isha Basic. But first, some of the protim that are known when the Rebbe's coming to America. The people, I didn't see it late. I know it's on the WhatsApp. You could see all the different things that people said. Those even, I think, Rabbi Groner and Rabbi Edelman, think people who were there, B'shas the Rebbe came, and they would say over what happened. But what we know is, and this is known as some people, I heard that Rabbi Groner said more differently, but I heard this, and that could be that two things that happened. That when the Rebbe was going to America, the Friedrich Rebbe called in. I even think I heard this from Rabbi Kazarnovsky himself, but I can't be sure. The Rebbe called in the Elter Chassidim, he called in Reb Shmuel, and Rabbi Jacobson, and Rabbi Simpson, and Rabbi Kazarnovsky, I think these four, and he told them they should go to be Makabel Ponim. They did. So many girsas in this Ma'aseh, that's why I don't take achrayus for it, but the Nekuda is there. But the Friedrich Rebbe said that Be'emes he would want to go, but his health doesn't allow it. He can't go. So you be my shluchim to go. And he said, I want to tell you, and everyone heard this, but I'm repeating it again because it's Dover Be'ite. And again, I'm not taking a chraya that this is exactly what happened, but I think I heard it from him, but I can't say for sure. He said, go and be mekabel ponim. He said, my Edim, who is Boki in Gant Shas, it alle Teisves, und in Yerushalmi, Boki in alle Sifre Kabbalah, or some solution 300 Sifre Kabbalah, I know, but Kabbalah, and he added also, und geht mit der Gartel a ganzen Tag, und als Otazei, and he made on his hat, und als Otazei, and all that is without making himself making himself look like a simple person, without making a fuss. Not Rabbonish, a person like that should be like that. That's what he told him. I think the way Yitzhak Gerner told over was a little bit different, that he was waiting to go into Yechidus when Rabbi Jacobson came out from the Friedrich Rebbe, and he said that the Rebbe said that the yeshiva should go to be Makabel Ponim, the Bochrim. This was I heard, I think, once from him or from his name. And he said, and also he said who's the Rebbe? It's Bokir in ganz Shas mit der Riff, mit alle Riffs und Rans und alle gedruckte Chassidus for him, something like that. So I don't know if the two mices were mixed up and maybe they made one kasha, two kasha out of it, or maybe not. But this is what I heard. The bottom line is the Teichen is that what the Friedrich Rebbe said when the Rebbe is coming to America. The union of wearing a gartel ganz and tog is a union because wearing the gartel is a union that it's a baguette for tefillah. It's part of something that you have to do when you daven. But it says Halavaishi Yispal Odim Kol Hayom. So there are people who their madregi of tefillah is a whole day, even while they're not davening. Because it says in Tanya, you could have a Beinani that says madregi is Ki'ilu Mispal Kol Hayom. Because a Beinani still has the Yetzirah, Tanya says. But when he davens, then he's like in the dark, the Yetzirah is asleep. And sometimes you have a Beinani that in Kili davens the whole day is asleep, but he's still a Beinani. But I'm not using the word Beinani, I'm just using it as an example that the union of wearing a gartel, which is verbunden with tefillah, and if you wear a gartel the whole day, and I always chazer this over. I myself once saw by the Rebbe the gartel. I was standing by Hakofis once. My place used to be many years right by in front of the Rebbe. The Rebbe is in the corner in the front, and my place was right in front of the bima. Rabbi Yoel stood there, and I stood right next to him. We always stood there. Later, when they changed, but then, so I remember once I was on the floor and looked up to the bima. The Rebbe standing on the bima, and I saw the Rebbe put his hand to take out his handkerchief. So he picked up his surtuk, and when he picked up his surtuk, I saw under the surtuk a gartel. That means besides the gartel that he wore outside on top, he wore the gartel, another gartel under the surtuk, which has nothing to do. And I don't think it has to do with the talis cotton. The way I understood it, it doesn't have to do with talis cotton. Talis cotton is not a gather gartel. Talis cotton is there. The gartel and talis cotton, or the bendel on the talis cotton, is to make sure it doesn't crease, because according to the Alter Rebbe, if it creases, it takes away from the shear. This is nothing. I don't think it has anything to do with this. Is something separate. Hagam, I heard, which again I don't take a chayas for this. I heard that somebody asked the Rebbe on Yechidus, a non-Lubavitcher asked the Rebbe why the Lubavitch Bochim don't wear a gartel. So the shmua is that the Rebbe answered, no, but they wear a gartel on their talis cotton. I don't know how true this is. So then it does have to do with this. I don't know, but by the Rebbe it was on a shirt. It wasn't on top of the shirt. I saw it myself. I saw the gartel sticking out. So the Rebbe wore a gartel. But this is the inyan when the Rebbe came to America. So the Friedrich Rebbe said home to me. And the Rebbe made later years a whole fuss when in Tovshim Mem Tes, I said the Rebbe in the Sikha spoke about it, but when the Maimer came out, that was the first time a Maimer came out in honor of Chov Chasim. The Mavor and Rebbe was Magia those years, my Morim, in honor of certain Yem of the Pagres. So it was always a Yem of the Pagre. Here the Maimer came out in honor of Chov Chasim. And there was a Pesach Dover. A unique Pesach Dover. Every Maimer that came out, the Rebbe was Magia in those years, the Pesach Dover was very short. It just said that we're giving out, the Maimer the Rebbe said and this. I think in the beginning, you used to say Alpi, the Rebbe say Rob, but then later it changed. But it's very short, 2-3 lines, just for giving the Maimer, the Rebbe said and this and this and this. Here, and I'm actually reading it from inside. It says like this, Likras Yema Boy Chov Chasim Nabalt, for the special day, the day of light, Chov Chasim that's coming, Yem Bein Nitzlu Kvet Kiddush Shad Mushlit Varabonis Atzitkonis Nishmos Seiden, Yibod L'chaim, 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 Meimik Abocha HaYeropit, that's the day they got saved from Europe, from the war-torn Europe. And they came B'Atzlocha to America, and the B'Yem Beis Chov Chasim Tovshin Aleph, She'oz Hischilo Tnufo Chadoshe Ba'achzokas V'Afotzes HaTeira V'Yadus V'Afotzes HaMionis. Then started a new approach, or what's the word? Tnufa would be not an attack, but whatever approach to a stronger way of chizuk of Teira Yadus and Afotzes HaMionis. Ayidei Kveit Gushad Murmar Yasov Friedrich Rebbe, by doing what? Beyozde Hameistes Hamerkos, and that's when he established the central institutions of Machne Yisrael, Kahos, Umerkez and Chinuch, Umosrom LaAnhola Kveit Gushad Murshlit, and he gave him over to the Anhola, to the running up by the Rebbe. So in honor of that, they're giving out this Maimer. So here is the first time it actually, and the Rebbe was Magia this Pesach Dover. The Rebbe was Magia this Pesach Dover, where it says that that's when it started a new Tnufa, a new, there's a word for it, I can't remember the word. There's two opposites. There's
Era,
a what?
era, new era.
No, not kufa, nufa. No, not kufa. No. There's when you go to war, there's a melchemes mogen and melchemes nufa. You have a melchema that's to mogen is to protect yourself, and then the other one who starts the what's it? Offense. Offense. Oh, that's the word. Defense and offense. So nufa means an offense. You're offensive. You start. So this was a new offensive working in Afot Samionis when the Frierdiker Rebbe established these meizdes and made the Rebbe the head of these meizdes, which means this fits be'etzem to the things that the Rebbe used to speak when the Geya Tes Oder. Tes Oder is the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America. And the day the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America was celebrated many times. And the Nekuda of his coming to America is that's when the Frierdiker Rebbe proclaimed America is nicht anders. America is not different. And when he came, he started bringing the Lakus in America. And the Rebbe used to explain it many times. I remember even one Farbrengen Tes Oder Tovshin Chov Hei, which was 25 years when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America. And I remember this, we're talking Tovshin Chov Hei, there was not such a big crowd in 770. If there were ever two orchim that came for Shabbos, everyone saw them, everyone knew them. It was not like years later. Years later, you could have every Shabbos, you had hundreds of people that coming. You have no idea who they are, this was, everyone knew everybody. There was a small crowd by Farbrengen, and if somebody came, so I remember for Shabbos, Parshas, what Parsha was it then? That's so there by Yikra, I think. And it was 25 years, so a lot of the American Tmimim, those that were in America and learned in 77, learned by the Frierdiker Rebbe in the Shins, Aleph, Beis, Gim, all these, by them this was the special Yontif. And they came to Farbrengen to 770. And the Rebbe spoke about it by the Farbrengen. He didn't make a comment saying that he didn't find anywhere where we should find in Torah that 25 is a number of years, which is a special tkufa, special period. We find 10, we find 20, we find 30, we find 40, 50, the Chavada, the Chayevel. But 25 don't find. He says 25 years is mentioned. In the Gay one in the Nevuas, it says it's 25 years from then, but not 25 years as a special tkufet. Nevertheless, the Rebbe said that, we know the letter from the Rebbe Rashab, that he says people shouldn't say pshotim, pirushim, in Tanya, because it's too deep, you can't. Then he writes, but if your pirush is going to add in Yira Shamayim, it's good, do it, gesundheit. So the same thing here, the Rebbe says, he doesn't know of anything special of Chavei. Later years, the Rebbe did speak about Chavei as a special time. Kei lechoi, Kei is Chavei. He did speak one thing, but that Farbrengen he didn't. But the Rebbe spoke about, so the Rebbe said that, but nevertheless, it's going to add in Yiddish, in Yerushalayim and everything. And since the Rebbe spoke what the Frierdiker Rebbe said when he came to America, American is Anders, and he said, Frierdiker Rebbe said that about making a broche, when you see your good friend, you see friends, there's a chilik when you have a simcha, if you have a shutef to the simcha or not, and the Rebbe went into it, the shutef, if you're what's considered a shutef of the Frierdiker Rebbe. But then he went on, I'm saying it over even though it's not on the gay here, but that's what he said then for Tes Oder, that he had Tes Oder when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America. So he said, Frierdiker Rebbe came to America, and that's from Russia. It's all coming from Russia. So he was talking about the Yidden who went out of Russia. And he said there were many Yidden who are here that when they were in Russia, they did Mesiras Nefesh, and now they don't have Mesiras Nefesh anymore, and now there are certain balabatish things they do. In the morning you have to read your newspaper and you have to drink your juice. And I never spoke about that Indian, which is often a gay because it was when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America. But the main thing is that when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America, what he did was he brought Yiddishkeit to America. Till then, Yiddishkeit was very schwach. I mean, there were Yidden, there were also from a Yidden this, but as the Frierdiker Rebbe said, in America, the avir is ma'upish. The air is polluted. There's no lakus here. The avir is, that's why the Frierdiker Rebbe came out with the whole thing that you have to chazer mishnais balpeh in the street to be mavara the street. And the Frierdiker Rebbe came to bring a lakus here. Behemshech lezeh is when the Rebbe came, comes out, which is another step and even a further step. And the Rebbe says it in one of the sichas, that this is a further step of what happened by the Frierdiker Rebbe Tes Oder. And we know, I chazed this over also a few times. I heard that they came to, some people from America came to, I think, Reb Sholem Belzer, is known, the Sar Sholem from Belz, and they asked him to come to America. They need people to come to America. And he said, give me 3 days to think about it. When they came back after 3 days, he said, you can't come. You can't come to a place where the Baal Shem Tov or the Talmidei al Baal Shem Tov weren't there, which means basically he didn't say these words the way the story goes. That he didn't say the words, but this is polluted here, and it's hard to work. No, to be Mavarer Welt here in America is very hard, and you can't do it. So the places in Europe where the people learned Torah for hundreds of years, the Baal Shem Tov were there, the Tzaddikim were there, but come to a new place like this, he couldn't do it. And he told him, what you should do is go to a Misnagdisher Gadol. Ask him to come, because they don't know these things. They're not involved in these things, and maybe he'll come. So they went to the Ridvaz. There's a Pirush on Yerushalmi called, not the Radvaz, let's not mix it with the Radvaz, or the Rishon, but the Ridvaz. And they came to him, and they asked him to come, and he agreed to come. And he came here, and he stayed here for a while, and he went back. He said he couldn't stay here, because Yiddishkeit was very, very hard. But the time has come that when the Friedrich Rebbe came, and he said this as Hashgacha Pratis, because the time has come for the beard also. I heard from the Peretz Mochke once. I asked him actually the story. I told him, I said, I heard that there was a Besaid, a Mekubal, which his name is Leib Hoffman. And I told him, I heard that he was in Lubavitch once, Farbrengen, and he Farbrenged, and was masbir that he sees a pikabole that before Mashiach, the Rabbi will have to be in America. This was in the Ayans, in Samach, I don't know, some in the Ayan, because the Peretz wasn't there in the Samach. He came Samach, that's I think. So I asked him, I heard Psamai said to me, it was a Psamakubal. So he started laughing. Said, he said, you're making it to him. He says, Leib Hoffman. There was a chassid Leib Hoffman, and he used to come to the Rebbe Rashab. And in Lekutei Diburim, he's brought down. Friedrich Rebbe mentions that he once went into Yechidus, and the Rebbe Rashab said to him, Leibe, ich sehe, du hast etwas was zu fragen. Frag, yeah, you have something to ask. So he asked the Rebbe Rashab, what's the union of the Baal Shem Tov? So, but anyway, he says, oh, it was Leib Hoffman. He says, I remember that Farbrengen, he told me. The Peretz Mochke told me, I was there by that Farbrengen. Say this a Maise, we had to hear a Maise from Amol. To him, it was, yeah, what we're talking about. He said, I was there. Yeah, and he said that. He said that he sees al Pikabole, that before Mashiach, there'll have to be the Birurim in this part of the world, and the Rabbeim will have to come to America. The Rebbe will have to be in America. So he said, yeah. And this is all connected to this union that you come to before Mashiach, there has to be the last birur. And this is the birur that the Friedrich Rebbe came to America and brought the Likus to America and made America a Mokum Torah. Even though when the Friedrich Rebbe came to America, they told him, don't dream about it. When the Friedrich Rebbe came to America, there's a letter from the Friedrich Rebbe. He writes that a group of Rabbonim went into Yechidus to him that day. And the Friedrich Rebbe says, they were my friends, Gute Freien. They were not people trying to disturb me. Gute Freien. And they told me, we have to tell you something which is very hard, but we have to tell you because we don't want you to be disappointed. They told him, Friedrich Rebbe writes this, you came here, you're saying, because the first Sikha, the Friedrich Rebbe says, he's making America the Mokum Torah. So they said to him like this, Azei dovet wachsen hor, azei vit Amerika werden Mokum Torah. Just like hair is going to grow here, that's how you're going to make America Mokum Torah. And the Friedrich Rebbe writes in the letter, you could imagine how I felt. I couldn't sleep all night. I was crying the whole night. Imagine hearing for the Gute Freien. But he didn't give up, obviously. He knew they said so because they think so. And Lopel, the Friedrich Rebbe succeeded. But this was like one of the last stages in Gilui Lakus of the world. And the Rebbe makes the Hemshech. The Rebbe, one of the Sikhas, let's see here, I think it's in this Sikh, I'm not even sure. I'm going to makes it. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah. Made a dicke word. I'm reading it from the Sefer. He said that the Yonim Ha'ikrim, so he speaks about Yudei Stamos, it's because it's a Shabbos Shlach, Mavorcha Machei de Stamos. So he says, one of the Yonim Ha'ikrim of Yudei Stamos, that through this became possible that my Shved, the Frierdiker Rebbe, came to America. And he says to the Chotze Kader HaTachten, America is called the Chotze Kader HaTachten. The half of the ball of the globe, the half, the bottom half. Now it depends how you look at the bottom half. If you look north to south, it's not north to south. The bottom half is south, and the other one is north. But if you look Chotze Kader this way, you're looking, so Europe and Russia, that side is on that side, and this is this side. And the Pale, there's a lotion from the Alter Rebbe that in America, nicht gewenke Matan Torah. In America, there was no Matan Torah. In Chotze Kader, there was no Matan Torah. And there's a letter from the Rebbe that's written to the Rebbe. It was printed originally. It said written to one of the sons-in-law. It was written to the Rebbe. That the Rebbe asked the Frierdiker Rebbe, is there such a thing? Is there a word from the Alter Rebbe like that? There's no Matan Torah. In America, there's no Matan Torah. People used to even make a joke. Why in America people are not so frum? Because it says, Leib ayami. It says in Pashas Tzavim, it says that the Torah is not, he says, the Torah is not Bashamayim that you have to say, how could I go to Shamayim to get the Torah? It's down here. The Torah is not across the sea that you'll say who's going to go across the sea. But they use a lotion. It says, Leib ayami. Some people tie no Leib Bashamayim. If you're on the airplane, you don't have to keep Torah so much. You can watch the movies if you want. It's Leib Bashamayim. This is all the jokes and Manishkeiten. Saying, but, so, what's the pshat? Leib ayam. There was no Matan Torah. So the Frierdiker Rebbe answered him, yes, the Alter Rebbe said that. That means the Gilui of Matan Torah was not really there as much as it was in the other side of the world. Because the cheshbon is, when Matan Torah was a Har Sinai, but when you have like a ball, so if you do something here, the thing spreads. If you have something that spreads, but it doesn't go around the other way, kiviyachol. I'm just getting a gashmas the gemoshel. So the Gilui of Matan Torah, Taki, was there, not here. The Gilui. Which means, Poshet, that it's much harder for Inyan of Torah here in this side of the world, and this Chotze Kader HaTachten. So the Rebbe writes here that when the Inyanim Ikrim of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Geula, that then it became possible for him to come Chotze Kader HaTachten. And when he came to Chotze Kader HaTachten, he came here, that's when he added B'yeser Seis, B'yeser Roz, Hafotzes HaTorah, and Hafotzes HaYad, and Hafotzes HaMayod, is all. There was even a chidush of Hafotzes HaTorah here, Ki Yudua, the Pisgem, Chotze Kader HaTachten, Lehoya Matan Torah. It's a Tachten, Shem Tachten, Matan Torah. And the Frierdiker Rebbe came and made it. And then the Rebbe says, listen, this is Mamish, made it Gewerte. V'yashleima, She'achidush, the Hafotzes HaTorah, and Chotze Kader HaTachten, Kosher Chofchaz the Sivan. This Inyan that there was a Gilui Lukus in Chotze Kader HaTachten has to do with Chof Chasidim. Because, and the Rebbe in the Sikha speaks about Chof Chasidim. Chof Chas is from the word Kayach. Kayach is Sivan. So the Rebbe explains in the Sikha, Sivan represents Matan Torah. Sivan is the month of Matan Torah. I see Matan Torah was on a specific day in Sivan, not the whole month. But the Gemara says that, why was Sivan the month of Matan Torah? Because it's Yarchet Lisoy, the third month. A Sivan has to do with the month being the third month, which is a Kayach of Sivan. Teisves Kayach, not only on the things of Matan Torah, but gam the Yonim that were Nischadish. The Inyan Zeh, this is the punchline. Nisgale gam b'yem Chof Chasidim Kamashonim Lachazeh. After the Free came to America, or the Kamashonim means after Matan Torah, something happened, he said, on Chof Chasidim, which shows this Inyan, that there is the Inyan of Hafotzes HaYadus, Hafotzes HaMayonis, in the lowest part. When? Then started being strong. See the same thing he says in the Maimer. I'm causing Machni Yisrael, cause America's Yonim Chinuch. And this continued from then, from Chof Ches Sivan, for his next 10 years of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And it goes higher after his Histalkus. For 40 years, he's saying it Tov Shemem Tes. So the Rebbe is making it very clear here that really what we always talk about Tes Oder, that's the month, that the day that the Free came to America, that the whole idea of bringing godliness and Lakus into America, started from Tasodem, and that's what the Rebbe says. But he says, when did it really happen? Is from Chof Chesiv. And that was Nimshach into all the time later. And he says, even Eloshen, if I remember, let me see here. In the later generations, maybe it's not here, maybe it's in a different mind, a different sikh. But see, in Tovshin Nun Aleph, the Rebbe spoke about it again. And here, let's see here. I think it's here. He spoke about it. This is Monday Chof Chesiv. Then it was interesting, by the way. Then again, I wasn't there, but we know that I remember then that the Rebbe was Chof Chesiv by the Eyal, and came back from the Eyal. And the Rebbe said he's going to give out Kuntresim. The Rebbe came from the Eyal, davened Mincha, and then was going to give out the Kuntresim. The people, the Maskirim decided that the Rebbe just came from the Eyal, didn't eat the whole day. Now he's going to give out for a few hours the Kuntresim. When is he going to eat? So they wanted to do something. So they said to the Rebbe right after Mincha that the Kuntresim are not after Mincha, right after he spoke. He's done Mincha, then he spoke, and he said they're going to give out. And then the Gaboyim announced that we'll make a hafsokya now because the Kuntresim are not ready yet. Hoping, not expecting that the Rebbe said, okay, so we'll go back to his room so he'll have something to eat and come back. No, you don't play around with the Rebbe. So what happened, and actually they even bring it here in the Sikha. What happened, there's an order here. Lachat Fila, the Gabi was machris, Tia Eis Hafsoke. Vachakach, Yichalek, Lishad Mushlik, the Sakuntas, Vashtori gave money for Tzedok and the Kuntas. So the Friedrich Rebbe, the Rebbe started smiling, and he said, Anstot Machana Hafsoke, Vet Machana Hemshech. And he'll speak again. So they made it even worse. So he started speaking. So he said, he'll speak again. Bis fell on come the Kontracing until the Kontracing will come. So he started making give a hemshech. So obviously the Kontracing came pretty fast because it was defeating the purpose. But Lepel, the Rebbe spoke about it. And that Sikhe, the Rebbe spoke about the union of Meraglim and Ledaitach, a whole ariches. But then the Rebbe says, in their Shash, I'm reading it again. I haven't seen the Mila of doing it over Zoom. You could have the Sefer open. You could sit by Farbrengen and you're going to sit in this, not a shir to learn a Sikha, but it's much easier. The Rebbe writes like this. The Shashelas, the chain of Yefutza by Nesecha Chutza durch Rabbi Neseinu Tzeinu, seine Gewen Kama Dargish Shlovim, many levels, many stages. The Meshech, Hashiva, Tisha, Data, 7 or 9 generations, because you could call it 7. If you start from the Alter Rebbe, it's 7. And if you start from Baal Shem Tov, it's 9. But the Rebbe doesn't say 8, and it's the Friedrich Rebbe. He says the 7 or 9 generations, from the Baal Shem Tov, from the Alter Rebbe, bis de Reinu Zeh. And the Rebbe calls himself the Rashvi, which is obviously. And he goes on. Not after the Alter Rebbe, who lived in Loznen, then in Ladi, then there were many generations in Lubavitch. And then the 7th generation, they mention here again the 7th of the Baal Shem Tov, they moved from Lubavitch to Rostov. And at the bottom of the order, he gives Mamash all the dates and everything. Then they moved to Leningrad, or if you call it Petersburg. Then they moved to Pale. The last step was Ongekumen and Artis Habis came to America in Chotzi Kader Atachten. And here itself, there were a few places till they came to this binyan, which we know now, which is known as 770. That's what the Rebbe says. It says 770. So we see Bepale, as even though all the generations they had Fotis Hamayonis, but never in the Chotzi Kader Atachten. There the Isgalus only was now. And the reason for this is, and he goes in, all this started off from Matan Torah, and he goes on here, this union of what's Chof Ches. And Chof Ches, the Rebbe says Chof Ches is something very special because Chof Ches, the Chal 3 times is a Chazokah. So 3 times 3, 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So when the 27 is up and the Chazokah is there, that's when you have the Kayach. What comes right after that is the Kayach. And that's what the Rebbe goes on here in the Sikha. So here he says, he speaks about the Dei Rashvi, the union of which happens through Afot Samayon, through the Rebbe coming to America. So Kaponim, what it comes out here is that this is like that Leib Hoffman said, that the end will be that you have to come to America. The last birur is in America. And this came through the Rebbe. So when it comes to Chof Ches Sivan, which is the last birur, so that is something that's so important. So the Rebbe made out of it, and he says, I'm going to find the Lashon here where he says that became, first he goes into the Holy Union, interessant, he goes into the Holy Union of 770. 770 gemateru foratzta. And then he said, the Shaykh is like this. 7 is the Shleimus. We know 7 is a cycle. 7 midas. Tashpo and all the midas, all these malchus. Shleimus of 7, if you have 100 times 7, that's 700. Together with another shleimus, which is 10 times 7, was zusammenbet to 770. When the Riber is does the gematia faratzta, while the shleimus from faratzta comes from here, from 770, which is, he says, the union of 7. But it all, he connects to all the union of the Frierdiker Rebbe coming, and this is nimshach till this generation. So having all this in mind, this means that this is something a very, very special day for us. And like I said before, that's why, who knows, the Rebbe said, Isha Beisei, because this union of bringing it down into the real Welt, into the lowest Madrege, that's the union of Isha Beisei, the Rebbe explains in the Geda Ken Godel. Just remind me, I heard, I don't know, I didn't see it inside, I heard somebody that Nachman Breslov writes in one of his Sfarim, that before Mashiach, there will be a Godel, a leader, who is going to lower himself to such madrege, such places, to be mevarer, which no one before him ever dared to go there. And that's obviously he was a great person, so he saw the future. So that's what the Rebbe, and that's what Chof Ches Sivan is all about. So Chof Ches Sivan is really together with Gimel Tammuz, Tzachonet Gimel Tammuz, because Chof Ches Sivan shows what the Rebbe's inyan is. The day that the Rebbe came to America, brought a Gilui Eir in America. A Gilui Eir in America. And Gimel Tammuz is the Gilui Eir of the Rebbe. The day when the whole, so they go together. So thinking about Chof Ches Sivan connects to thinking about Gimel Tammuz. They say, this is time, they say when the Rebbe came into 770, the first thing he looked at the windows, counted how many windows there are in the shul. And he said, they asked him to Farbrengen the Bochum. So he said that Thursday he's going to bench Gomel. So then he'll Farbrengen already then. And he did. There was another modern thing that when the Rebbe came, you would imagine the Frierdiker Rebbe was Arbet Meisim to bring them to come to save the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin and bring them to America. And finally he succeeded. And the day that he came, he wrote letters to different people. Baruch Hashem, they came. But the Rebbe did not go in to see him. It took 3 days till the Frierdiker Rebbe called him. In Gashmi is the reason they said was, that's what I heard. All these things is just what Shmu is. The Gashmi is the reason was because of health. It would be too overwhelming. The excitement of Frierdiker Rebbe was not healthy to affect his health. But there must be deeper reasons also. Everyone has biyurim. I don't know what the biyurim are. But by the Rebbe, imagine the greatest simcha that could be. I heard, and again, I make a disclaimer. Anything that I say that I just heard, I'm telling you I heard. I don't know if it's true or not. That the first Shabbos that the Rebbe ate upstairs, the meal by the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbe drank a lot of mashke. Then there is another part which I don't know if it's true. This is, I don't even know if you should say it over because I don't know if it's true. That the Frierdiker Rebbe, that's what they said. Again, could be Zvav Maises. That the Frierdiker Rebbe saw that he's drinking a cup of mashke. So the Frierdiker Rebbe took his hand and put it on the cup. So they say that the Rebbe took with his other hand, took a cup. Well, I don't know if this is true. It doesn't sound, but could be, the Yonim, Rebbe's and Yonim, we don't know. So these are, so I heard also that when he walked in 770, he started talking to the Bochrim, he said, I heard that the Bochrim in America, it's a whole Chiddush, Amerikaner Tmimim. It's a whole musag. American guys, American boys, should be Tem Chetmimim. Says the Rebbe said, I heard that they're Boki in Mekuta de Burim, the Frierdiker Rebbe Sichas. It fits to what happened years later when the Rebbe once by Farbrengen said He wants they should tell the story of a Chok Chosid, Kusha Lepler. And he asked Rabbi Yoel to say it, and Rabbi Yoel didn't say it. Then he turned around to Avraham Shem Tov and asked him to say it, and he didn't say anything either. Whatever the reason is, not to speak in front of the Rebbe, it was Simchas Torah, and the Seder was the Rebbe would start Farbrengen before the Shkia and go on for hours and hours. A lot of people, out of town, would have a chance to come. So Reb Sholem Gordon, he was from the Tmimim, the first Tmimim in America, already had come from I don't know, from Newark, them Istamen. And the Rebbe said, "Who is Sholem Gordon?" And Sholem Gordon got up, and the Rebbe said, "Mizoktav dira du bis boki in Lekuta Diburim." They say that you're boki in Lekuta Diburim. No, what is the story of a Chok Chosid? And he also first gekwenkled, he didn't want to, but then eventually he said the kids of the story of Kusha Lepler. I'm saying, but the Rebbe said so. These are things that happened. The Rebbe came in the beginning, but the bottom line for us is Maiseh, it has a great meaning. The Rebbe said what I was looking for. The Rebbe says in one of the sikhs that this was established. The Day of Chasim was established as a yontif, and celebrated as yontif. I'm not going to look for where it says it, but it says someplace there. In the Sikhs, I think it's in Tafshin Memtesedi. Anyway, so this is, so it seems interesting that Chof Chasiv is a hachana to Gimel Tammuz, because they have a Sada Shabbat, they have something in common. So let's say L'chaim and take achlotis. Everyone his own achlotis to be mechazik, kashas to the Rebbe, and doing what the Rebbe wants, learning Afot Samayones, which Chof Chasiv has to do with the Rebbe puts it in the Sikhs. What's the special Chof Chasiv is this is the end, the finish of the Afot Samayones. So that's the Sikhs that we have. He says it back in the Sikhs. So L'chaim, and I was going to say the Rebbe should help, and we should accomplish what we have to. The Rebbe should be the help from Dafer. Sing a niggin. Let's start a niggin. No? It's niggin. Mama ya mama 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 ya mama ya mama ya mama ya ya mama ya mama ya mama ya mama ya Aynam, Rabbi Frankfurter.
I came across today a letter from the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Okay.
To share. It was written to the Anash when they were in. I'm gonna one second, close all the mics. 1 second.
Yes, Rabbi Keller.
That Friedrich, when the Anash when poking in the different DP camps, and there were a discussion about how Farbrengen should be. So Leib Friedrich wrote by the Farbrengen that B'Sol Noach Lenitsky. And he says that he's right in his approach, the approach that he had. There were different Chassidim arguing exactly how the Farbrengen should be. So he said he's right. So it says the Farbrengen should be the way it used to be in the olden days. The Farbrengen was filled with content. It wasn't about expressing immediacy, it was more content. And then he goes to something more relevant, I think, as to what we're doing now in Chavches Sivan and Gimel Tammuz. So said there was a certain Eretz by the participants. This one says about something he saw by his Rebbe. Another one describes the Rebbe's davening or things that he heard from the Rebbe. Another one talks about his yichidus. Another one brings up memories from his Rebbe, or and certain things. Sometimes you can't discuss things in public, but at least that itself makes you think about your own yichidus and your moment with the Rebbe and so on. So just I saw that, I thought that I wanted to share because it's now that we're having a Farbrengen before Gimel Tammuz we discuss. That's not just in one way zechreinus, but things from the Rebbe. But it has to be to inspire us also to remember our own personal connection to the Rebbe, whether it's knowledge, whether it's a moment that we felt touched by the Rebbe. Either those who personally had moments with the Rebbe, and or videos, a sikha, something that we have from the Rebbe that touched us. So that's now Farbrengen is the time to think about that. We don't always have the time while we're busy, taking care of the kids, running to shul, running to work. But the Farbrengen is a time for that, to think personally. But some specific, I would say specific moment that we had with the Rebbe. Again, either in person or through the Rebbe's writing. We know the famous Hayomim. Someone asked about his kashrus. If it's either, so saying is not enough. It has to be through a limud Torah. And obviously, it says participate Farbrengens with Anash. That's one way, and the limud Torah also to learn the Rebbe's Maimorim. So certainly, it has to be a personal connection. The things that Chavches Sivan, I don't know how many people were there at the time, still with us.
Yeah, around now that we're there, then. Yeah.
Right. So it's certainly not participating tonight at the Farbrengen. I don't know, but like you said, you have the videos going around and the different things like that, or people remember the Kuntreisim and Tashin and Aleph. Whatever, each person has their own, but. Our personal moment with the Rebbe, so it's not just in general, we're talking about Chassidim, is the idea of his beinus of thinking, it's not just in general. It has to be very specific in order to be able to make a difference. I actually saw, I saw the letter in the Sefer called Hayitzim Russia, which is basically Zechrenes from Shlomo Matisov. So he there brings the story from Yeshvigat, actually, Rabbi Schapiro. She was apparently teaching girls in the DP camps, and there was a lady over there, Mrs. Zalmanov, used to nudge her, asking all kinds of different questions. At some point, she got frustrated, and Yeshvigat, and she said, "If you want to eat, you have to eat yourself. You can't just be spoon-fed. So you have to eat, and then you eat, and you have to digest it, and then you feel full." So in other words, she meant to tell her, you can't just nudge people asking the other people questions. You have to start thinking on your own and learning on your own, not just asking other people to do the work for you. So it's also a time that we have the time for the Farbrengen. It's a time for us to think personally, something very specific, whatever that may be. Either achlot, a specific achlot is always a good thing, but a specific memory, a specific moment that we had with the Rebbe. And we know in Hayomim when this beinus goes both ways. If we think about the Rebbe thinks about us. So that's something also, that is important. I'm going to finish with the story I saw today. It was published in Sichat HaShavua with Freddie Hager. That he was in New York and he had finished a meeting and he was going from Manhattan to Flatbush. This was springtime, and he was then after that from Flatbush he was supposed to fly back home to London. He's taking the train and the train stops at Atlantic Avenue and going to Flatbush, and the train for whatever reason took a long time and the door stayed open for a while. And I got him thinking, he's sitting here on the train as Atlantic Avenue could change to the 3 to go to Kingston to 770. He's looking at his watch, it's 3 p.m. And he's thinking, if I change now, I could probably make it for Mincha. So he's jumping out of the train before the door closed, and he's going to the next platform to catch the train to Kingston. And it took a while until the train comes, and he's getting a little upset because he's not going to make it for Mincha. He's going to come probably at the end, but he said, at least I'll make it when the Rebbe goes out of Mincha, I'll be able to see the Rebbe. And then I'll fly back to London. So he's coming to 770. The Rebbe is waiting, I guess, in the lobby. The Rebbe walks out of Mincha from the small shul. He's straight into his office without looking at him. But then the Rebbe turns to the mosque and said, Hager is here for the matzahs for London. And the Rebbe goes into his room. The Rebbe goes to Freddie Hager and he says, where were you? We're waiting for you all day. The Rebbe want to send matzahs to London with you. And we told the Rebbe we don't have a way to get hold of you. And the Rebbe told us, don't worry, he's going to come. So, and here he is and said, Freddie Hager says, I don't understand. I myself had no plans to come. Whatever reason the Rebbe thought of me, and that made me come. So certainly that, and then the Rebbe walked out of his room and gave him a pack of matzahs to take to London. But certainly thinking about the Rebbe thinks about us, and then it creates that bond, that connection. So this Farbrengen and Farbrengen is a good time. We have a moment to think. So it's a good opportunity to think about the Rebbe. We have, then this Wednesday, I know there are other Farbrengens, and then Thursday's Gimel Tammuz. But there's a Hachoneh, certainly a good time to think about something very specific and create that personal relationship, a personal discussion that we have with the Rebbe. Thank you, L'chaim.
Fine. Saying this Farbrengen, I just found while you were talking, I gave a look, I found the Lashon that is established as a day of Farbrengen. The Rebbe writes, that since Shabbos is Chav Chasidim, then he says, Shekvar Nikva al Yidei Rabbi mi Yisrael L'yei Misvades V'Kabbalas Achlotas Tevis. It's already established by many Eden for a day of Farbrengen and a day of accepting good resolutions. B'chol ha'pu'ulas ha'fotzas ha'teira v'yadus v'mayones chutz, in all the pu'ulas of ha'fotzas ha'teira and ha'fotzas ha'yiddishkeit and the matzah mayones. Ukvar rohu ha'teitzoes me'isvades elu, and they already saw the outcome of these Farbrengens on this day. B'maise b'peil, b'meshech yesem v'gimel shnei chazok, in more than 3 years. This was Toshim Memtes. So it says more than 3 years already that they established it, and we saw the results. And it's b'teich gimel yomim v'shchedesh hagula, and it's also Chavches is within 3 days to the shchedesh of the gula. Yeshli is chazik u'leheise b'yesereis se'eise b'yesereis b'mili hashliches. So you have to mechazik yourself more with fulfilling the shliches, and it's parsha shlach. Shlach is shliches. Shehitel kvedish amerucham yavnesiderein. Al kol echet vechem midareinu that we have to do, and we have to work on it. Va'efen sheis askas b'shliches tiye b'chol keichei. You have to work b'chol keichei. So what you're saying, that's the achlotas that we have to make, and each one by looking at his own personal thing will make the achlotah. And the Rebbe uses b'chol keichei based on the word chavches, keach. That's the keach that we have. The Rebbe in the Sikha quotes, it says that whoever says Omer Yesh Rabbi b'chol keichei is keren le'afil gzar din shel shivim shana. They tear, even if it was a gzar din from the Eibishter of 70 years, like a person lived 70 years, and there was a bad gzar din. If you say Omer Yesh Rabbi b'chol keichei, the Eibishter tears it up. So there's the Lashon b'chol keichei. The Rebbe connects it to keach, and he says an interesting word. It's a geschmack word, b'chlal. What's the cheshbon of 70? Well, because it says, the person lives 70 years. But the Rebbe connects it that 70 years was Golus Bovel. So he says, by Bekol Keichei, The Eibusha tears the Gzardin of Golas. And that's connected to Shivim Shana of Golas Bovel, and then the same thing with this Golas. And the Rebbe connects it to Chov Ches Sivan. The whole thing with Shlach, anyway, so it is a special day, even though we who are a little bit older, it's still new. Because all the years, because mainly, what do you remember? Remember the way the things were when you were a bocher and yeshiva. This is how it stays in your for life. No, it's bocher 70. There wasn't Chav Ches. We didn't even know that. Like I said before, we didn't even know Chav Ches was the day the Rebbe came to America. Like I said, people thought that the Shmuel was the Rebbe came before Shavuos. He came for Shavuos. The Friedrich Rebbe said before he's coming. I heard from Rabbi Levitin, Benjamin Levitin. Says he was there when by one of the tables at the Friedrich Rebbe from Essen, they were singing the Beinani. So they didn't know how to sing it. So the Rebbe said, Friedrich Rebbe said, Bald kommt mein Edim. My son was coming soon. Is a Balmanagen, tachus lernen zu singen. He's a Balmanagen. So the Shmuel was, this all happened at Shavuos. But it's not true. I mean, it happened at Chav Chasim. But it's definitely a day of Achlotas Tevis, and I think Rabbi Frank, you hit the nail on the head, that the way to make the Achlotas is not by just listening to this happened, that happened, the Rebbe, but a personal connection. And the personal tviyah that the Rebbe has to me, everyone to himself, not, mice. So, but that is not something that is lapped off in public, that everyone, as a result of the Farbrengen, everybody could go back to himself and sit down and think about it. What is it that the Rebbe wants of me, and just my feeling to the Rebbe? They just gave, I saw on WhatsApp, I don't know which one of the thing chats, I don't know. The letter they printed from the Friedrich Rebbe from Tovshin Beis. But the Friedrich Rebbe writes there, you're asking what's the union of his kashrus. So he says his kashrus is learn my Torah and the Farbrengens and learn and the Tilim, say Tilim, and then maybe I'll find it on my phone. And he says, and be Farbrengen and Nash, and then he says, and to have a time to think of loving the Rebbe. And then the Friedrich Rebbe goes on. I think maybe we'll find it in a second. I'll find it. If not, I won't look for it. Let's see here. Give me a second. I'll find. I'll read the Lashon. It's very interesting.
I can send it to you if you want. I can look it up.
I know I have it. I got it, but if I won't find it, then maybe it's. Oh yeah, I just found it. I knew I had it here. It's from Chedesh Sivan Tovshin Beis. But mine al Ksove. Yeah. So he says, "His kashrus amiti." He belimud on my morim ba kontreisim. Really, kashrus learning the morim to kontreisim. What's kontreisim? That means the sichas. Hisvade shanash yichye. Bringing with anash. Ubi seirer es hoave. And you awaken the love. And then he continues. Minig achsidim hamakushorim. B'chol day by day. The meaning of the chsidim hakushorim. All generations. Show you kavim le'azman miyuchet. They had a special time set. Mehem sholayim could be an hour in the day. Ipam l'shavua once a week. Amol maybe l'shtesha 2 weeks. Elchedesh. But it was a time lehiseirer. Berikshei ave with a feeling of love. Lemeirom verabom. To the Rebbe. Poshut liphom dem Rebbe. That's what he says. Poshut to arousing yourself to love the Rebbe. Ba'ava murgeshes belev. Poshut, you should feel it in your heart. K'mei ave psoris lisha bonim. Like you have a physical love to your wife and children. Neisev ala zikorim b'chol birchas hamazon. Besides the fact that you mention in birchas hamazon, in benching, you say Harachman yivorach mereinu, he says, which is the Rebbe. Ubiseirer es rik she'avo yimetzayrim la'atzmon. And when they were awakening the feeling of Abba, they would mitzayir to themselves. Eisam azman, and that's the letter that Rabbi Frank would have mentioned, that they were mitzayir to themselves. Those times they were yechidis, yeshom udachar, the herd yechidis. Ayehoye beis eisvad is the way of Farbrengen. Shebe'efen on hogis zu hoyetomid mikashorim. That's how they made them a Or eil al kalona. But the main thing is the top of everything is aveda b'peil. Kol echad l'fi erke yechiyol. Everyone according to what you can. Hem ba'atzma hem and zolose with himself or with anybody else. So this is what this has to be. So this is the result of the Farbrengen. So I guess we'll finish now and we'll continue. Mirz Hashem, Wednesday afternoon there is the Farbrengen that Florida is having the kesher to the global one, and then Wednesday night we're gonna have a Farbrengen, our own Farbrengen. So Mirz Hashem, but the Weile, this should be a Achane, should awaken us and bring us closer to the Rebbe, and come out L'Peil Mamash and something. L'chaim, l'chaim.
L'chaim, l'chaim.
Thank you.
Okay.